nonetheless, to be moving for 21 days with a crew. You can't scout, you're just going every day through the Himalayas with a crew, with people's lives on, at stake. And so really difficult, to be honest, really, really difficult and scary film on a lot of levels.
Welcome to another episode of the Filmosophers. I'm Dean Slider.
And I'm Chris Bush.
Our guest today is Adam Schomer. Adam is really a unique person. Well, he's just a unique person.
Thanks, Dean.
Adam, you're special, just like everyone else.
Oh my! Thanks, Mom. Amazing. Yeah, thanks, Dad.
Really, Adam occupies a unique space in filmmaking. He is the multi-hatted maker of spiritually oriented documentary films. Producer, director, writer, cinematographer. What have I left out?
Sometimes distributor, even. Sometimes, distribution consultant, because I have experience in the consciousness space and connections, yeah.
Right. So Adam is the Dharma film walla, as we say in India, right. the factotum. And it's really great to have Adam with us today. He'll be talking about his projects, what he's been making, and what he loves.
Awesome. Thanks for having me on the show. I'm really happy to be with you guys. Illustrious gentlemen that you are, that have been practicing for so long, writing for so long, and creating for so long. So, and I just love hanging with you. So this is great fun.
Great. So the first project of yours that I became aware of, aside from bumping into you walking on the beach here in Santa Monica, yeah. Is The Highest Pass. Yeah. About a completely insane enterprise.
Yeah, yeah. What part of the insanity should we start with?
How about signing up with the guru who tells you that you, who've never ridden a motorcycle and have no interest in riding motorcycles, are going to ride a motorcycle over the highest motorable road in the world in the middle of the spring thaw, when the avalanches and the snowpack and all that are the most dangerous. Is that crazy enough for you, Adam?
It is. And first of all, I followed, ever since college, I followed my heart, in terms of, hey, what is it I really want or am seeking or want to do? So thankfully, by the time I was studying with Anand pretty intensely in India, and he said, hey, do you want to take this trip over the highest road in the world? And mind you, the other part of the insanity is he has a prophecy at that time in his life that he would die in an accident. And it's not a prophecy someone threw on him, it's in his Vedic chart. And he, reads Vedic charts, so he even saw it. And his teachers have said, yeah, it's an odd thing, but you're supposed to kind of die in your late 20s in an accident. So of course he wants to bring me along, and I'm thinking he wants to sacrifice me so that he can live long. This is what the story mind comes up with, like, oh, I'm the sacrifice, and then he's going to live longer and take on my energy and soul. But nonetheless, a guru says, do you want to go to the Himalayas? And of course I say yes. I made my lips move and say yes. And then the rest was just all the stories coming in, all the fears coming in, trying to hold you back from what you really want to do, if you're familiar with that pattern.
Yes. And I'm specifically familiar with that pattern when you're in India. And when, for instance, I've had it where, okay, here is the sacred cave, and you're crawling, you have to literally crawl through it, and you're going to go sit in this completely dark place, and you're being led by the guide. And at one point you go, oh, this is where they lead the gullible Western tourists and then knock them over the head and take their money and leave them to die in the cave.
Totally. Exactly. We come up with it's especially claustrophobia for me. I don't like going in small tunnels like that, etc. But yeah, I mean, that film, that journey, I shouldn't even call it a film, because we were doing the journey no matter what, right? Thankfully.
And then, excuse me, when and how did the journey also become a film?
Yeah, so Anand asked me to if I wanted to do that with him, and then he said, well, in the yogic tradition, let's share it. Let's invite more people. We didn't post about it or anything, just kind of word of mouth for a few people. And then we were talking that summer and said, you know, we should make a film of this. And I was very clear, and he was likewise clear, like, we're going to do it right if we do it. We're not just going to take a handy cam and we're going to get a crew and a budget. And so I went out there and, you know, grace to God, the money came through. And it was my first documentary. It was really my first feature of anything. I had done comedy and shorts and a couple episodes of a kids show, but had never produced and directed something of that size. And nonetheless, to be moving for 21 days with a crew, you can't scout, you know, you're just going every day through the Himalayas with a crew, with people's lives on, you know, at stake. And so really difficult, to be honest, really, really difficult and scary film on a lot of levels.
I mean,
but that's
just doing normal things in India is difficult.
Yeah.
You know, once you go beyond, you know, getting a cup of chai.
I know.
Which you can't avoid getting a cup of chai. You sit, you sit down for 5 minutes and 3 people are bringing you cups of chai wherever you go.
Yeah, I remember like my audio guy said, hey, I need an 8-channel mixer, get that. So I'm in India and pre-production, and it's like only Mumbai has such a piece of equipment, and it was going to be a really pain. I call him back, I'm like, do you really need that? He's like, oh no, that's just what I'm not used to. I'm like, Jesus Christ, you know, I've been working for 2 days to get this. Oh, we need a generator, and it took me 2 days to kind of get a generator too, just to have in case. So you're right, everything takes so much longer just to do the little things because of infrastructure, and you know, it's India.
Mm-hmm.
Did you sacrifice somewhat the enjoyment of the journey and the process, having to be the producer director and taking that role?
No. I mean, it's a small. If it was a sacrifice, it was a good one to take. You know, because we're all there for pilgrimage, so that is the main thing, is for growth, right? So whatever I took on in terms of more on my plate, so to speak, I got in spades in return. And Anand was very clear, like, don't ever say you're dealing with more than anybody else, you know, just because you're making the film or you have more on your plate. He's like, you have no idea what that guy over there is dealing with, you know, with his family at home that he might put in danger by dying. So, you know, just be weary of thinking pity, you know, that kind of thing. So I was thankfully, like, while making this thing, my guru, sometimes sharing a room with my guru, who's just, you know, tweaking me a little bit every day, making sure I'm totally in line. So actually amazing, right? Amazing challenge and amazing thing to learn with both those things. But I mean, I was sleeping very, very little. I was crying a lot, to be honest. You know, like, it'd be lunchtime and I'd be like, oh, I think I need to cry. And I would just go behind a rock and cry like a baby who's overwhelmed, because you're dealing with death coming at you, trucks, lights, nighttime, rain, every day for 12 hours, 14 hours, and your system goes overwhelmed. And so it's kind of like you just need to go shake it out or cry it out. That's what was going on with me. But we still, you know, Chris, we still had tons of laughs as a group. You know, there was still plenty of space because you can't film all the time. A lot of it's just riding, right?
Right.
So
but you know, there's that quote from Anand, which he, I think you've got that at the beginning of then the series that followed The Highest Pass, The Road to Dharma, where you go on another motorcycle pilgrimage with Anand.
Yeah.
And right I think it's at the end of the lead into every episode, he says something like, you're not here to have a good time. Right. You're here to transcend.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't come here to feel better, you come here to transcend.
Right. So kind of to Chris's question, did making the film detract from your enjoyment? You were there. Making the film gave you a bunch of stuff to transcend.
Yes, so much. And of making a film or riding a motorcycle, which is harder, riding a motorcycle, in terms of your first, because it's your life every day, right? So that's scarier and more high stakes. Making a film felt, in comparison, easy. But yeah, having Chris, having done actually that ride again without filming, yes, much more time to hang out with people, you know, sleep, these kind of things.
Adam, any special memory of a happening, poignant, funny, sad that didn't make it into the film that you might share with us?
Oh, I didn't make it in the film.
Or were you able to catch everything?
No, I mean, there was plenty of times I dropped my bike that didn't make it in the film. You know, they would joke that I probably dropped my bike 20 times, but we caught 3 on camera. Um, so the part that's on camera that we have more of is when we visit the Oracle in Ladakh, up there in Leh, Ladakh, which is in the north of India, and it's all over 11,000 feet, the whole state. And that's one of my favorite parts of the whole film, some of the best wisdom. But there were a couple other people that sat in front of her, and there was more that she said that we couldn't really include in the film. And that experience is just super special. There is a joke, I think we included in the bonus features. One of the motorcycle riders is actually a stuntman, meaning that's his career. He wasn't a stuntman in our film. So we pulled a joke on Anand, and we had him like do a fall at one of the Buddhist monasteries, just a human fall, not on the bike, just like, ugh. And then when Anand went to pick him up, he's like, no, my back, don't touch me, don't touch me. And Anand's like, So we pulled one on the guru. That was good.
That's pranking the guru. That's
pranking the guru.
That could be a new reality series, reality TV.
Prank the guru.
Prank the guru.
And he appreciated it. Anand's got a really good sense of humor. He also, for me, I think he had the Buddhist monastery turn on the World Cup. Italy was playing a game in the World Cup. So we were in a monastery, and they had Italy in a small little TV playing the World Cup game back in, I guess, 2000. What was it? 2010, yeah.
Actually, Adam, are you aware of the film The Cup?
The Cup?
Yeah. It was made by that Lama, is the Tibetan Lama who's also a film director. And he uses, it's a fiction film, but he uses real monks in a real monastery. And it's all about their quest to get an antenna so they can watch the World Cup.
Watch the World Cup. Wow.
It's really a beautiful film.
Oh, I'll have to check that out. That's like my whole world coming together right there.
Right.
I love soccer, and I am watching a show called Ted Lasso right now, which is about an American football coach coming over and coaching in England for football, soccer. Mm-hmm. Total farce, total hilarity, but it's really good. Like human quality. It shows the best of humans. You know, I like it. It inspires me to actually be a really kinder person. To me, anything that does that, that's cool. It doesn't have to be adventure or the stuff I do. If it makes you walk away from film wanting to be nicer and wanting to be kinder to humans, I'm like, that's great. That's very conscious to me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You know, when we're talking about pranking the guru, I realize that people who've not seen your films, who've not seen Anand, the image that they probably have is of an old man with a white beard. But in the first film, in The Highest Pass, Anand is what, 27 years old?
Yeah, 27. Yeah.
And he's like a cool Indian guy, very good looking, you know, kind of movie star looks, and very, I mean, it's funny to have to say the guru is relaxed, but he's very kind of loose and cash, and he gets American humor, has American style humor, which a lot of people in that part of the world don't necessarily get. And he rides motorcycles. He comes from a well-to-do family, and he just happens to be a wise guru.
Yeah, which is really refreshing, right? To have he's younger than me. My guru is younger than I, and he's got that, vivacity for life, which is cool, that he wants to really be in a younger guy. So that's nice too, to have that mix. Mm-hmm. So yeah, he's a handsome, dashing, 6'2", is also, like he's tall for India, very tall person. Modern guy. Yeah, so that's who we're pulling pranks on. This guy that's making jokes to us, like, someone said, does that happen a lot in India where where the truck hits the bike? And he goes, almost. That almost happens a lot. People almost get hit all the time, but they don't get hit that often. But it's almost so often. That to me sums up India too. There's so much almost death every second all around you.
Yeah. For people who've not seen the film, and really you should just see it at the first opportunity, The Highest Pass, and then the follow-up series, The Road to Dharma. Just, if nothing else, first, the whole thing is so beautifully shot.
Thank you. Yeah.
I mean, of course, I always say, if you can't take a beautiful photo in India, you can't take a beautiful photo here. Because everywhere you turn, there's so much color and life, and these little kids swarming you with their beautiful, beautiful eyes. I mean, you started, the journey starts in a place where I've been in Rishikesh, and driving over the Lakshman Jewel, that long, insanely thin, crowded bridge that goes over the Ganga there in Rishikesh. I mean, what a beautiful opening that is for the whole journey.
Yeah, for both the highest pass and the Road Dharma, we start by crossing the Ganga, and then off we go into the Himalayas. And and especially, with the Road to Dharma, we tried to, because highest pass feature-length film, Road to Dharma 10-episode series, we wanted to really make you feel like you're on the journey. So we took more time to just be talking and walking with the guru, to be putting you on the motorcycle more, to be just a fly on the wall, to slow down and feel India a little more. The highest pass moves pretty quick. Road to Dharma pulls you along, but it just makes you really feel like you're there at these sacred spots, because I didn't have to keep up that pacing of a feature doc. Whereas that's really why I wanted to do the series, to be honest, is so I could embed more in people's mind this experience of being in India, especially in these sacred sites that people normally just won't get to see.
Yeah, it moves much more at India speed.
Yeah.
Once years ago, I had to go to the Indian consulate, I guess it was, in New York, to get a visa to go to India. And of course, there's like 10 windows, and only one of them has a clerk. And long line of impatient Americans, and one big, just very American looking guy ahead of me starts complaining, why are things like this? And I thought, oh no, this guy's going to the wrong country.
Yeah, good luck, buddy.
You can take the bureaucracy out of India.
Right. But the shots on the motorcycles, who was the passenger riding on the back of Anand's bike? Because there's a lot of shots, I guess this is in the Road to Dharma, a lot of shots over his shoulder and just wheeling around that are incredible.
Yeah, we did a lot more of that, where we put the cameraman on the bike. So that's Scott Chrisman. He's our DP. We had two cameramen, but Scott was more the adventurous one that I would either have on the back of my bike or the back of Anand's bike a lot to get some of these shots. So he's really, two hands or one hand on the camera depending, and the other on the bike or Anand or me, and just doing whatever he can to hold the camera. But that's scary, right? That's scary. Scott did a really good job, and it's not really a steady cam per se, but it works.
Yeah.
It comes off really nice. And I mean, I dropped him once on like the last day. It's not in the show. It's not in the Road to Dharma, but it was a hairpin curve and it wasn't fast. And I really didn't even go down. Like I put my leg out, my bike went, but I stood kind of standing up still. And he just hugged the camera and went down on his side. Like he didn't put his arm down or anything. He protected that camera and went down. I'm like, that's my cameraman. That is my, he's willing to die for the series. Scott's amazing. Like you have to really, like you guys know each other and trust each other. Like when you go on these kind of pilgrimages, you want someone you can trust, that's your brother, or your sister, that will die for you, so to speak. It's kind of, and you want them to be tapped into the spiritual experience of it as well, which Scott is. So. Yeah.
No, those shots, I mean, so scary and so beautiful at the same time. I'm trying to think of anything else I've seen that's that intensity of those two contradictory elements at the same time. So thank you to you and all your colleagues for taking that adventure so that I can experience it vicariously without doing that, because I'm never going to do that.
No, you're not. You don't ride it. You don't ride a motorcycle.
I ride a Vespa.
Yeah, that's very similar.
No, motorcycles are the sharks of the road. Vespas are the dolphins.
I love it. Yeah, that's why we did it too. Yeah, you don't have to go to India and do it like we did it, right? This is one way to pilgrimage, but everybody, especially with COVID and all that, they're forced into a pilgrimage. That's what I think when people watch the series, they'll relate to, is when you've been pushed into a situation that's out of your norm and you don't have a lot of choices. Mm-hmm. Your choice is grow. And that's a good thing, like Chris, me being forced to make a movie and not have as much fun. I was forced to grow. Like I had to make this movie. You know, I had people's money at stake. I had this film at stake. So that's the great thing. We think of freedom here, I think, as choice a lot in America, and that's totally wrong. You know, a lot of times less choice is better.
Yeah, you know, Pema Chodron has a book titled The Wisdom of No Escape.
Yes. Yeah.
I think that's, your film's got that in spades.
Yeah.
You've committed yourself, Adam, to spiritually oriented film that is meant to educate and inspire and awaken. How do you walk the line between art and commerce in your work?
Yeah. It's a great question. I don't know if I do. I don't, or maybe I'm not conscious of it. You know, like I'm very aware of making sure I live the Dharma or live the message of the film in my daily life and how we approach the film. Like with Heal or with Road to Dharma, that I'm not getting stressed out by it, which can be a tough thing when it comes to specifically the commerce side, you know, to really get at that question, because that's, that can be a tougher part of it, like getting this out there. And how do you put it in front of people? How do you market in a way that's, you know, because you have to market, but you don't want to come off cheesy or inauthentic, but you definitely got to let people know this thing's out there and that you should buy it and that freedom is something you need. And these are the keys to free, you know, right? So I do walk the line with that, with knowing I have to market and get to people. And as soon as they watch the film, they'll take the ride, right? So I do my best. One thing I did with the Road to Dharma is I created an online course to go around it. And now that I was just inspired to do. Like, I want to talk more about freedom. Freedom is the essence of the whole show. But I wanted to be able to then break it down and say, this is what we were talking about in episode 1. And here's the bonus talk from Anand that you didn't get to see in the show. Here's where he talked for another 30 minutes on Kedarnath about death of ego. And here's an audio meditation that I am giving you that helps you kind of elicit that and experience that yourself. I wanted to make a course that could take people deeper, but then on the marketing side, it is another way to actually find audience, because with an item like a course, you can do things like work through affiliates, other, you know, big name people that have audiences, and say, hey, look, if you spread this to your audience, you can have some of the revenue. That's like a common model in the summit model, online summits. So I knew that could be an advantage to getting it out there, is by creating a different kind of product that you can spread through affiliates. Whereas, you know, if you come out on iTunes, etc., you can't really spread through affiliates. You know, you can't give people part of the revenue as much as you'd want to. So it's a little harder to make people aware. I think the course has created more awareness of the show than the show being on iTunes at times. The course is really, really powerful, and those people are really impacted that take it. The whole journey of watching 10 episodes, reading the chapters, the bonus footage, the meditation, they go and then they become these, speakers on my behalf to their friends. So that's one way I do it, but it's, you know, LA entertainment world is no joke. I do find myself like pissed at TV networks. You know, you know, just
right.
like I have dreams of playing soccer where I'm on the sideline and the coach won't put me in. And I'm like, what is that? I'm like, yeah, that's what that is, Adam. That's the TV networks, not like putting your show in the big mainstream on Netflix. Mm-hmm. You know, that's the anger of like, this is good work. People should be seeing it, you know? So there's that's probably the line that's the hardest, is the frustration or the anger or the vilifying some thing that's not really a thing. You know, why create a villain so that I can be a hero? I don't, no real need for that anymore.
Yeah. You know, you have a line that you say in The Highest Pass, where early in the journey, you're finding that you and the whole gang are in some perilous situation, I know, riding in the dark or something, and you're getting angry at Anand for putting you there. And you say, then you say to the camera, well, you realize you're not really angry at the person, you're just afraid.
Yeah, that's it.
It's a great line.
It brings tears to my eyes. It's so true.
Yeah.
It's like anger's the cover, right?
Yeah. Anger is more kind of perversely exhilarating than fear. So we divert it to that. But God, it's a thing you gotta learn that one over and over.
That's yeah, like you saying that's like, wow, that was 10 years ago and I'm still always working on that, you know, that same thing. It's amazing. And you know, that's life. You keep growing.
Yeah.
Good one, Dean. Nice way to bring me back. Okay.
Whap, whap.
Yeah, totally.
This is we're all on the buddy system with this Dharma stuff. You know? You give me a whack on the side of the head, I give you a whack on the side of the head.
Oh, it's beautiful.
It's like the Monty Python, fish slapping thing. You just
Good reminders. Thank you for that. Wow, I love it. Okay. That trip, I can't just that was my first film. That was so powerful for me. It made me feel like I could do anything after that film. Like I went to Kazakhstan after that and did another film in a nuclear war zone. Like I felt like, what else can you guys throw at me? Because this was so hard.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I loved we went to a premiere. I don't know if it was the premiere, but it was an early showing of The Highest Pass. It was in like some kind of hangar structure or something. We had the meditators and the yoga babes and all of that. And we had bikers.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that the way that film brings those groups together. And I just wonder how many bikers have been introduced to the Dharma through your, through enlightenment, awakening practice, the Dharma through your films, and how many old Dharma dogs like us have gotten onto motorcycles.
Right, or Vespas.
Yeah, right.
I think Vespas are dangerous. I can tell you this, the motorcycle crowd is so nice. Like we called up a lot of the AMA, the American Motorcycle Association groups throughout the US to tell them about Road to Dharma and see if they would share it with their people. And so nice on the phone. Like, wow, you did that? That's amazing. We'd love to share it with our people. And it's usually like 50-50. If you ride a motorcycle, there's something kind of spiritual about you, because it is just such a thing, kind of like surfing. Mm-hmm. There's something going on there where you're with the elements, you're quiet for the most part, right? So there's something that's speaking to the person and to the experience. So they tend to resonate with it. And they're like, cool, I'll check that out. Now they might, not ultimately be like with the India thing per se, but the themes are universal. Freedoms are, universal. So I find the motorcycle crowd is that crowd that's super nice. And then in the end is like, yeah, I have these same thoughts. Yeah, that's how I see life too. Thanks for putting it into those words. Thanks for breaking it down for me. Right. And that's what I'm trying to do. Is I think everyone tends to have these feelings or wonder about freedom, that it's something different than we've been taught, and say, hey, watch this and listen to this, and it might help clarify these things for you. You might never put it to words like this, but now you start to see, these are the aspects of freedom, and this is, okay, I can hang on that teaching that Anand said, and I can write that down and use that as a guidepost or a principle.
Right. In my experience, even on my little Vespa, which by the way is baby blue, and one day I started thinking about how macho I am on my Vespa, and my wife Yafa says, yeah, I used to have a Barbie car that color.
Oh, like a toy?
Yeah, Barbie car, right? That's great.
Real supportive. Real supportive of her.
Right,
yeah.
But to me, the most kind of basic part of that experience, and why, I like never drive a car anymore when I can help it, is that when you're on the bike, you're riding through open space. You're not enclosed in this little box. Yeah. We spend so much of our lives in boxes, and when you're in a car, you're just in a moving box. And when you're on a bike, you're just, wow, it's what the Tibetans call sky gazing. Wow, you just, and it's a model, it's a metaphor, and pretty close to not a metaphor, but the reality of the wide openness of transcendental experience.
Cool. I love that. I love that. Thank you.
I was just reminded of, reading Robert Pirsig's book, Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance, when I was 14, 15 years old, and how, as I recall, just so poetically, he blended two seemingly disparate worlds, but not really.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. Because that's what we're doing. The spiritual better work here in the material. Otherwise, it ain't worth a damn.
Mm-hmm.
better blend together. So.
Let's talk about Heal.
Okay, sure.
Why don't you tell us about that and what that's about and what your role was in that case?
Yeah, so Heal is a feature documentary currently on Netflix, and it came out on was a #1 bestseller on iTunes and all that. But it really goes into the power we have internally through our emotions, through our thoughts, through the way we see the world, to heal ourselves, specifically from illness, the power and the importance of dealing with our emotions, from dealing with our stress state, and to using our thoughts or visualization to help the body do what it naturally does. And it's a very inclusive film, meaning it's not saying anti-Western. It's just saying, let's open the scope of healing and let this be part of it again. You know, it's been there for ages, but you know, we've been a little closed off to it in the Western approach for a while. So through a couple journeys of people dealing with illness, as well as experts from Deepak Chopra, Marianne Williamson, Greg Braden, Bruce Lipton, we go through and really explore that and the power of that we have. And I think empowerment in general kind of sums up like all the films I work on, when we're trying to really empower the individual and saying we have the power to become free or power to heal ourselves. And I was the producer on Heal, so Kelly Gores directed it and came up with the idea, and she brought me in to help her make it. And because I do a lot of work in the consciousness space, and it was, for me, it's like, of course I want to work on this film. This is super impactful, and it has been. A lot of people, you know, still write us saying it saved their life or it saved a loved one's life and gave them hope and possibility.
Wow. That's fantastic.
It's a good thing.
That's fantastic. Have there been more people seeking out Anand? I mean, before the quarantine, and like, you know, going to his ashram in India or going to his teachings here in the U.S. as a result of the films?
Yeah, I mean, the Highest Pass I know created a wave of people way back in 2011 when it came out, or 11 was Topanga, 2012 it released in theaters. There was a wave of people that saw that and were really like, who is this guy? And so I'm like, oh my God, that person that's now like the head of Satwa Connect, they came because of that film, you know, it opened their eyes. So there was that wave, and then Road to Dharma now is this kind of second wave of people that are taking the course and then saying, what else does this guy do? You know, and it's a little tougher now because of COVID to go there. But yeah, a lot of people, because of Road to Dharma, are now seeking him out, which is wonderful. What a cool thing to open people's eyes to.
Yeah.
And I think it's always, you know, to be really specific, it's because I never made it to promote Anand. You know, it wasn't, you can see Road to Dharma was not made to promote him. The Highest Pass for sure not. I mean, there's a lot of questioning whether or not Anand's a little too risky in the Highest Pass. But it was never to promote him. It's always about the teachings and the experience and the empowerment. But anyone that's then drawn to go find him, like they already had it to me. Like they were already ready. And then this just fell in their lap and they're like, okay, I got to dive in a little deeper.
Yeah.
You know, it's rare that I'm not convincing anyone to go find him.
Yeah. And, you know, if you had made it to convince people, if you had made it to promote him, it wouldn't have worked.
No, it'd be gross.
Yeah, it would be gross. And you'd be able to smell that.
And I don't like those things. I just don't like them.
Yeah. Yeah. We've seen, I mean, it's so hard to make any kind of spiritual film work.
It is, yeah.
You know, to present spirituality or your spiritual experience in a way that is authentic to what it is, because the essential experience can't be conveyed in film.
Yeah.
So you have to somehow obliquely hint at it, give the atmosphere around it, and to do that without being cheesy can be a very thin line.
Oh, so thin. I mean, I don't watch a lot of conscious films because of that. I mean, so to speak, my own genre. Because I'm making it, so I'd rather go watch a comedy a lot of times, you know. But yeah, it can lean that way, or a little preachy, you know, or etc. It's a tough line, and maybe because I'm still like a baller, you know, like I'm out there playing soccer, you know, I drink coffee. I'm not like Mr. Austerity, you know, I'll have a glass of wine. Like I live, I hike. maybe because like that's who I am, like it can work in the films I make, you know, like, cause that's what I like. Right. So
Yeah.
I wouldn't do it any other way.
No, and it comes through. It comes through. You've got your, you know, what, head in the sky, feet on the ground.
That's it. That's what my mom says also.
What comedies do you love?
What comedies do? You know, I mentioned the Garry Shandling doc, right? It's a 4-part doc. That's why I love that, because it's Garry Shandling's hilarious. It's called the Zen
Diaries.
That's a fantastic series because Gary's hilarious, and it's you know, you're seeing a lot of his bits throughout, but he's also writing in his diary all this Zen stuff and his exploration into spirituality along with it. So you're laughing, you know, you're getting opened up through the laughter, and then you're seeing the heart and the struggle kind of underneath it at the same time. And he also struggled, what I didn't realize was, with the machine of the entertainment business. He fought the managers because he thought the managers were taking too much money and not looking out for their clients. And he got kind of blackballed for that at one point, but he's the reason the entertainment industry kind of switched. But he took a real hit because of it. And I think emotionally he took a hit with a lot of people emotionally against him during that time. So it's interesting to watch someone fight for what they think is right, which I really resonate with, like the truth. You know, there's that part of me that just is so justice oriented. It gets me into trouble a little bit. You know, I'll write the Santa Monica parking people for days and days. Because how could you give...
Fighting City Hall, Adam, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, and it's just like, how can you give someone a $65 ticket? Not me, just somebody during COVID who's in a car that's like kind of run down. I'm like, are you kidding? This is the wrong time to be slapping that guy in the face.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry. Yeah.
I was going to say, I was a big fan of the Larry Sanders Show, and I always appreciated the self-effacing humor. But after seeing Zen Diaries, which I really liked, and it really gave me such wonderful, amazing insight into this guy and his humor and his, like you say, his struggle. Yeah. I felt almost like the Larry Sanders Show was almost a very public and ruthless therapy and self-examination.
Awesome.
Yeah, it was fascinating to see it through that lens. But he was such a seeker and really made such effort to self-examine and understand himself and the nature of reality. It was really quite moving. Quite moving,
yeah. I mean, anyone that's really on the edge, like we are, like looking at ourselves, using our life for growth, that's beautiful. That's regardless of what, industry, so to speak, because other people are doing it. It's just not as in the spotlight as Garry Shandling, but that's the hero to me.
And you also mentioned a favorite of yours, The Princess Diaries.
Princess Bride?
Princess Bride.
Princess Bride. Oh,
that's why I laughed, because I'm like, I'm not sure.
I just morphed together.
The Zen Diaries and the
I'm like, what teenage novel did he just say I love? I don't know.
It's okay. You can, Adam, you can be yourself with us.
Okay, thanks, Chris.
Might be good for you.
Okay. Meanwhile, that's like 5 versions of it. Princess Diaries right there. Yeah, Princess Bride. What a fantastic film. Mm-hmm. I mean, just hilarious. That was like my go-to college film that we would just watch 40 times, over and over and over. I can't, I mean, I don't know why I love it so much. I guess it's because it's the hero's tale, which I resonated with for a long time. Not so much anymore, but making fun of itself the whole time. And I like that. Maybe it's that same self-effacing, making fun of itself.
I saw an interview with Mandy Patinkin made years later. And he talks about how he said he had 2 really memorable lines in that film. One is the one that everyone quotes. Probably you can quote it, Adam, right?
My name is Inigo Montoya.
Yeah.
You killed my father. Prepare to die.
Yeah.
Right? And he said that's the one that, people stop him in the street all the time to torment him with. But he said the other one that really struck him, if I can remember this correctly, it's near the end of the film, where it's something like, I've been seeking vengeance for all this time, and now that I've found it, I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
Something like that. And boy, that's just, there's your Dharma teaching.
There is. That's true. That's it. That is it. Gosh, I like that. What's he end up doing? I think he ends up like joining the, I don't know if they even talk about it, but it's true. I mean, I see that myself, Dean, in terms of how like I was talking about how I can vilify so that I have this justice battle, you know, and I really don't want to do that anymore in my life. I don't want to create a villain so that I have this battle for heroism. I just want to, you know, it's more about sharing and spreading how we rise up versus overcoming something, because then there always has to be a villain, and I don't need that anymore.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a sign of being 45.
You had involvement with a film called One Little Pill. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, that was on alcoholism, and then specifically a treatment for alcoholism that worked on really on the biomechanics of the body, the brain learning, so the physical body, which you might think is strange. Like, oh, Adam does these conscious stuff. Like, why is he talking about a treatment that's not working on the emotions or the spirit? And it's because, to me, it's like, it's not necessarily one thing. It's compassion, right? Now, there's a lot of addicts out there that, yes, okay, it's a cover for emotional issues at times, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there is a physical aspect of it where, like you're saying, like, it's just addiction. My body's addicted. It doesn't even feel good. I just have to get it. And that film actually helped me like have a lot of compassion for that side of things, where there's just the physical addiction is so strong. And this treatment, the Sinclair method, just is like Pavlovian. Like, you take a pill an hour before you drink, and the endorphins are blocked so you don't get the high from drinking. And after a while, you start deassociating alcohol and the high. And so you stop craving it as much on a physical level. And then with that little bit of space, you can now start to do the emotional work a little bit easier. And because they found, like, 80% of people in jail, and I know you've worked in jails a lot, they're actually addicts, not criminals.
Right.
It's not a criminal mentality. It's an addict mentality. So they do the crime to get in. 80%. So it's like, well, why don't we help treat the addict? And they were using this very effectively in the US for that. But they were using it without actually the drinking part of it, as you can imagine. But they were just using the blocker every day, which is not really the way to go, but it was effective. The Sinclair method specifically is a specific method that to this day is not widely known, but works incredibly well. And
have you heard from people who were helped and went to that method and got helped because of the film?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Claudia Christian, who is a star of Babylon 5 TV show, it saved her life. And we followed a couple people that were using it real time, and it was working for them. One guy we follow who normally would binge drink. Like, wouldn't drink for 3 months, and then he would binge drink for 2-3 days, and get himself in trouble. And so we're like, here, like, take the pill before you drink. But like, if you're going to start drinking, you might start a binge. So it's very dangerous. But just even in that one night, he had like 2 beers and a shot versus a 3-day bender. Like, it stopped the binge mentality, which alone is crazy. It kind of blows somebody's mind. Like, I don't see why I left a half a glass of wine on the table. How did I do that?
Right. It's fantastic.
It's fantastic. So it's cool that there's other options. It won't work for everybody, but it's cool that there's options.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Compassion, that's compassion.
And then you have a new project coming up, right?
Okay, yes.
Involved with the distribution?
Yeah, that's where I help with distribution. I signed on with them in November. The film was done. It's called Chasing the Present. And I thought, because it's similar to Heal in terms of personal stories plus experts, and it's mental health this time, it talks about stress and anxiety and depression and how to heal our mental health through going inward, through self-inquiry, through meditation. They work in a little bit of plant medicine, which isn't my thing per se, but it's an option. And Russell Brand's in it, Rupert Spira's in it, Sharon Salzberg, Graham Hancock, Alex Gray, the artist. A lot of powerful information in there and really beautifully shot films. So that comes out September 29th on VOD, on iTunes. And we're doing online screenings and stuff now. We just did a summit through Hay House. So we had all the interviews on Hay House and built up a lot of press. We even got Ed Sheeran to do an interview just for the summit. So he did an hour-long interview. Ed Sheeran, the musician, who I didn't really know about before this film. Can you I don't know where I've been hiding for
Right.
the last 5 years, but he did a great interview about like how addiction and depression, and that got a lot of press because anytime Ed talks about something, it does. And just really authentic people sharing how much stress and anxiety ruled their life. So it's a very beautiful film. Excited for it to help people.
I watched the trailer for Chasing the Present last night, and it is, as you say, beautifully shot, and it's got some fantastic teachers. Rupert Spira, who I've spent time with, who is I just think he's one of the clearest, most, one of the finest teachers in the world today, and so I'm looking forward to that one.
Oh, good. That's excellent. Yeah, that should be a good one to share. And then there's other stuff brewing. There's some stuff I can't talk about yet. There's another dangerous thing that it's true. I don't know why, but it's a kind of dangerous, life-threatening, conscious film. I love just mixing the two. I don't know why. I love watching something happen that you got to get investors and stuff on board that are like, we don't know exactly what's going to happen, but it's probably going to be crazy. So I can't talk about it yet, but we have a couple meetings in the next couple days. So.
Well, Adam, there's a moment in The Highest Pass when Anand says, and I quote, "If you've never been called crazy in your life, you've never really lived." And I think you very beautifully embody that.
Thank you so much. Wow, is that a compliment? I don't know.
I'm just glad you're out there doing that stuff so I don't have to.
Okay, not a problem. Then you go meditate for me.
Yeah.
And then I don't have to meditate.
I'll just, if I take a walk around the block, that's about as much excitement as I can stand these days.
I love it.
I have a question. Adam, I'd be interested in hearing how you met your teacher, Anand, and how you knew that he was the one you wanted to learn from as a teacher and a guru. Is that a story you're able to share?
Yeah, of course. And it's kind of like my girlfriend currently. And I'll explain what I mean. Meaning it wasn't like love at first sight. The love I feel for my girlfriend is quite, it has grown, over the last 4 or 5 months, quite a bit, and that's how it was with Anand. I went with a teacher from the US. She took us there, and I just kind of got to know him more on a friendly level at first, and then through his wisdom and resonating with his wisdom. Then we went again. He came to the US. Then I went again with her in the group, and then I said to him, "Can I come alone? Sometime, and just I don't care if you can't spend time. I just want to be in India alone, and maybe I'd see you a little, whatever you can. Like I just want to have time to really just be here alone and study with you more." And prior to that, I had also witnessed him send me mantras, like meaning like that, where I was sick, and then he was sending a mantra, and I was totally not sick anymore for 30 minutes. Like I was in a good place, and he could tell I was receiving it. And so I said, okay, that's quite powerful, and that's and it's quite nice. You know what I mean? Like you don't have to do that. So it's kind and powerful. And so, and then I went and studied one-on-one with him in Rishikesh. And it was at the end of that journey that he turned to me and said, "Hey, do you want to go die in the Himalayas on motorcycles?" No, he didn't say that. "You want to go die for me in my prophecy?" And that's when I said yes. So I met him through another teacher. I became more and more, connected with him. And it wasn't any official thing where I said, "You're my guru. Can you be my guru now?" Or can I? It's never like that. It's always just been a really deep love and mutual respect. And of course, like many gurus, they trigger you, So I remember the last motorcycle trip we did in 2018. We didn't film it, so I was able to have more fun, Chris, But like the first 7 days before we even left, like every morning, it felt like my meditation was just clearing the triggers I had toward my teacher. But I would, like 45 minutes was like working through like, what is this? And inquiring and figuring it out. And that's the cool thing about teachers, that they let you just go have your process. They don't care if you're pissed at them, right?
Right. It's got nothing to do with them.
Got nothing to do with them.
Someone, I forget who it was, told me a long time ago, said the guru's job is to tell you to stand up and sit down at the same time.
That's it, huh?
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah. and hold space while you work through everything. Yeah.
Right.
So that's how I met on that. And was there a second part of the question I didn't answer? No, that was it.
Oh, that was good.
And the crazy thing about that 2018 one, as much as we were having more fun and no camera crew, is I crashed and I broke 5 ribs on that journey. So there's always something, challenge. And that was my challenge that time, was to have to enjoy the second half in a car with, at 18,000 feet, you can't breathe well as it is, but then with broken ribs, it's even harder. Yeah.
Watching the road to Dharma in particular, I was wondering, when you're there in the dual role, right? On the one end, and actually this is a larger question about documentary filmmaking in general. You're there in this dual role. Here are these people that have become, as one of the characters in the film says, I've only known these people for a short time, but I feel like they're all my brothers. Yeah. So of course you have this love and compassion for them. And in your case, you've got the responsibility to some extent for their welfare. Yeah. And then you see something happening, a crash happening, someone gets lost in the dark, they take the wrong turn or something. But then you're also there as the filmmaker, and there's got to be a part of you that's saying, this really sucks for them, but it's going to make great film. What a plot point.
Oh, it's so true. Oh my God. You just outed me, They're secretly relishing in other people's pain.
Right. And then the third part of you that feels guilty for the second part.
No, for some reason I don't have that. I think that's why it works. Maybe no, I don't feel that guilty for that, because I know it's like, oh, it's good for them in some way, not the pain of having a crash. You never feel good about that.
I'm realizing that the other answer to my question is that the big picture perspective on various tragedies that happen to ourselves and to other people is, it's all a movie, man.
It's all a movie, and hopefully, we'll learn from it. Right. But I'm gonna tell you, when I almost died in the Ganga, in episode 9-10, when we were swimming across and I almost died in the road to Dharma, I wasn't thinking this is going to be great for the show. Yeah. I was just thinking, I live, dude, live.
But maybe if Jeff dies.
Yeah. No, that would be terrible. I need to see a resolution between Jeff and Jen. So.
Right.
We're joking, of course. But yeah, I think maybe to answer like the total answers, in the moment, you're in whatever's going on, and then there's that after moment of like, that's cool, that's going to be great for the series, and I'm going to follow up with that tonight when I talk to them. But usually somehow I'm able to, because I'm in it, able to let myself actually just be really in it while also keeping a director hat on as well. Probably because the nature of these experiences is so intense.
Right.
You end up being present. You're not acting. You're not trying to be there. You're just there, or you're probably in trouble if you're not.
Right. Right.
This is so interesting, Adam. And I just really have such admiration for you that you have applied your, just your creativity and your artistic ambitions to helping wake people up and inspire them and enlighten them. And, it's such a great thing you're doing.
Thank you.
Great admiration.
Likewise, the admiration is equal for both of you doing what you're doing just on this show and what you do in life and daily life, to be honest, or just meditating is I admire anyone that's taking time to inquire. And to me, like I really couldn't be out there making like reality TV, whatever. It just doesn't, the panache or the thrill of making films is not that big of a thrill to be making something that I wouldn't be very like, want to watch myself or think it's just part of the problem, so to speak. I think media is a big part of the problem without vilifying, but it's a big part of the problem. Like these stories that we're teaching kids over and over is a big part of the problem.
I find that, when people say that, that the stuff I do, oh, gee, it's so great or admirable. And I don't really have a lot of choice. It's, this is my skill set, and this is what I can stand to do. My narrow skill set.
Yeah. Exactly. It's all work. It's still work, but thankfully we believe in it, and we know we're helping somebody.
Right. Good. Well, thank you so much, Adam.
Yeah, my pleasure. I love talking to you guys.
Mm-hmm. And we're looking forward to seeing what more conscious film projects you're going to be rolling our way.
You got it. Thank you very much.
Okay, take care.
See you.
Thank you for joining us on the Filmosophers Movie Talk Show. Please subscribe to stay up to date on our newest episodes.